Welcome to Raising Our Voices. My name's Lachlan Jones, and this is James and
Ariane.
Ariane and Pauline Williams.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing? And today we're talking about the perils and great things about public transport.
Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting journey to get here today, wasn't
Oh,
it?
Yes, it was.
Definitely.
It was.
Gotta love trams. Gotta love it.
And yeah, they were sensational trams. Actually, they actually were. We should give them 10 points for stuffing up. So
Yeah, they stuffed up mightily, didn't they?
yeah, they.
But there was a good save at the end there. We had very helpful staff on the platform that helped us get on when all the other customers weren't prepared to wait
What
for us.
happened is there's already been delays, right? And then one of the trams turned up that luckily wasn't our tram. And then its front door got jammed. So everybody who just got on was getting off. And then finally they fix it, right, because they can't go with the door jammed. So finally they fix it, and then another one moves through. And then we've got to wait for the third one up. And then as we're getting on, people are trying to push past us to get off. So then the lovely staff who had been helping us up for about what seemed like the last 20 minutes were making pathways and making sure no one pushed past, which was great.
Especially for Ariane and myself, because we're all the ones that technically are supposed to have priority and right of way, so
Because we're both in wheelchairs, aren't we, Lachlan?
yeah, exactly. And
that was okay. Once we got on, there were two wheelchair accessible spots there that we nabbed. But then we had the getting off saga.
I would personally like to thank the lady on the 109 tram who helped me off. But in the process of helping me off, one, I can't see behind me, so I bashed into this woman accidentally, who thought she'd moved out of the way, but she hadn't. And then my bag got stuck on one of the chairs and broke. And then as the lady was trying to fix it by getting it off its hook, because it's on a special hook that holds it on, she copped me one in the side of the eye, which was fantastic.
That's not good.
No, and I'm sure that, the tram driver was thinking, well, I don't know what's going on down there, but it's taking forever.
And for people that can't see, our panel operator, Gab, is currently laughing her face off right now.
yeah,
But anyway, that's the 109 tram, which is accessible. So as you can imagine, the ones that aren't accessible are even more disastrous.
Yes. And today we'll also be talking about all the things from buses to trains to taxis. I believe we'll have a brief section on taxis and what's good and what's not.
And one of the things we wanted to concentrate on, because we haven't in the past, is buses.
Yeah, particularly. Yeah, in particular.
In particular buses, yeah, because buses, well, in the past weren't that accessible. I know, Lachlan, you had some history with buses.
Yeah, I have. Do you want to touch on that? I lived in East Brunswick, and there were no low-floor trams back in those days, and on Brunswick Road, I think it was, I can't remember the number now, but guy from Northern Bus Lines, which is now Dyson's, I rang up one day thinking, do I have to ring up every day? And he said, no, it's on 1:15 the hour. And I thought, oh, beauty, and it goes to Clifton Hill Station, so I don't have to ring that bus company up if I need to go to Clifton Hill Station, because it's a bit of a hike, so unless she doesn't run on Sunday, so...
So were these buses every 15 minutes were accessible or not?
Yes.
They were. That's good.
Not all of them. There was one...
not all of them.
There was one going up, then it was coming down, then every second one was accessible.
But you had to call up about the time.
No, that was a different bus company.
Okay.
That was National.
And what happened with National?
Well, back in those days, I used to have to ring when I used to train for the Paralympics. So they were listing the gym off Victorian Uni, and I'd have to organise a bus twice a week. The night before, 10:49, and then I'd have to ring the following morning to see if they've already marked it down, because somebody might ring in sick to or someone might overlook it and see that it's been highlighted as low floor.
So the schedule wasn't, there weren't that many low floors, so you'd have to ring the night before to find out if you could get one scheduled, and then ring the next day to make sure it was actually running.
Yep.
Before you could rely on the bus being there.
Before I could rely on going to the bus stop.
Yeah.
And what sort of, you said it was a while ago, but I wanted to get, because I'm very interested in that sort of thing. I wanted to get what sort of time period around that, what sort of decade sort of thing.
Now you're asking me. It's a few years ago now, but
So back in the early 2000s or not?
probably about that. Possibly, I'm not. Don't quote me, but and then back in the 90s, again, I used to have to ring Ivanhoe Bus Company the day before to see if I could organise a low floor bus just to go to a local shopping centre.
So what's the story now with the buses?
Well, now I can wheel down to the smart bus. There's an automatic.
There's a button you press.
Yeah, press. And it says automatic time buses in 2 minutes, like we did with the 109 tram. So it's pretty much the same scenario, but it's with a bus. So,
and does every bus that come have a ramp now?
Yep.
So all the buses you can get on, they're low floor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And the buses, there are some buses running that aren't low floor at the moment, but most of them are. And what they're doing with the old buses that aren't is they're still running them, but when they break down or come to the end of their life, they replace them with a low floor.
Or they use them for chartered school runs or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Wow. So it wasn't actually an impossible task, was it, to get it to happen? It just took so long to happen.
Yeah,
like everything.
It's like with the accessible trams are taking so long to get that to happen because they're like, it's so much money. And when you think about it, it's a lot of money, but for the amount of time it's going to save for people travelling, for the amount of money it's going to save people that they can put back into the, I'm going to use a big word here, economy of Australia, because they can spend it on different things. That's going to be so much better for Melbourne.
Absolutely.
Like I know, I loathe living at Lygon Street because we had trams outside my front door and
you couldn't get on them.
No.
Well, that's rubbing your nose in it, isn't it? They sail
pretty
past
much.
You.
I tried to tell Mum that, but anyway, it's another side issue. But it had its advantages too, like on the weekends or low floor buses through National, because all the ones with steps weren't. Once they had enough in the fleet, they were in a position to have all the old Mark 1s, all the old PCC ones off the road on the weekends, and then the Mark 2s, and just all the Mercedes or MANs or whatever. So it was pretty much, I didn't have to ring up on the weekends, it was more during the week.
So we've come a long way, but
Yep.
it's probably taken 30 years since the 80s we've been lobbying for accessible buses. I remember sitting down with a bus owner in the 80s talking about accessible buses, and he looked at me like I was from Mars. And, you know, at that time I'd just come back from the US where in Las Vegas, of all places, all the public transport was absolutely accessible. But, yes, I said to him it was possible, but it's taken a long time.
So what bus company was this from?
Well, going back a while now, I tested my memory and I don't think I can even recall. But, yes, we have come a long way. But what about some of the issues around bus drivers and assistants and getting on and off buses and getting up those ramps and down those ramps?
The problem, and this is great if you need the help, and some people know I need the help because they can't get their particular bus slow enough, but some people who don't know me, they just think they can touch the chair. And our chairs are an extension of who we are. They're an extension of our personal space. So for about a metre around the chair, that's personal space. So basically what they do is people will just start pushing you without asking or helping you get on the bus, and it's like, no, I don't actually need your help. And there are some cases where I'll get stuck where I'll ask for help, but if I'm not asking for help and if I'm doing it by myself, let me do it by myself. If I ask you for assistance, or if you know me well enough to know I need assistance with a particular type of bus, then you help me. But other than that, you have to ask first.
So, can I add on to that, Ariane?
Yes, of course you can.
Pardon me. I've been on many buses, and sometimes the vehicle can't, for whatever reason, it can lower down, but the ramp can't go dead flat. And for safety reasons, I reverse myself back, and the driver gets out of his seat. And as Ariane, I think that's completely unfair. I know what you're saying in one respect, but
yeah,
they've
but
got
the
it.
difference
But
is we've
Ariane,
got different wheelchairs
Ariane,
as well.
what you've got to understand is when you're in their vehicle, they've got a duty of care. If you injure yourself getting out of the vehicle, right? I know you pride on personal space, but if you hurt yourself alighting their bus, they could be liable. You could turn around and say, I'm going to sue you because you didn't,
Yeah,
but
the thing is, if you say, I don't need the help, and then something happens to you, you can't actually go back to them and then say, because you've taken responsibility for your own personal safety. See, that's a difference. And me and you have different wheelchairs. So you have, for example, you have a manual wheelchair, which is less capable of perhaps getting up steep ramps, whereas I have an electric wheelchair, which is more capable because the suspension's better and all that sort of stuff. And I can be more independent to that.
I'm independent, but it's just a matter of being safe and responsible and making sure you can do what you're pushing up a safe gradient with your capabilities, not trying to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
it's a very interesting debate you guys are having.
And the drivers,
I think communication's the key.
And the drivers got, to, like, regardless of seatbelt or not, if I flip head over heels, I've got a shunt in my head, which is a little valve that pumps fluid around my body. If I tip on my head and I have to go into hospital due to entering the bus safely, that's why I get the driver to help me if the ramp's too steep.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own personal experience and everybody's different when having experience on buses. And quite often when I get on the bus, I've got somebody else with me. So I live with my twin sister. So if I'm getting on and off the bus, I've usually, 90% of the time got someone with me. So, and often they say, oh, you're by yourself today, or, oh, what's your sister doing today? So that they take note that I'm actually by myself, which means that A, they're paying attention, B, they're doing their job right, and C, they actually do ask me more often if I need help when I'm not with my sister, because they know that when I'm with my sister is fully capable of assisting me, whereas when I'm by myself, I might need more assistance. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, can we move on from buses? Because I'm conscious that James hasn't had much of a say, and I want to bring you into the discussion, James. We were talking before we got here today a little bit about ticket inspectors and good communication with them, and that's important too, isn't it?
It is, but there are ticket inspectors, but sometimes they check your tickets to see if it's got enough credit on it, but they sometimes give you a fine if you don't have enough credit on your MyKey.
They do. And I think, it's tricky sometimes to be sure if you have got enough money, especially if you do have a disability that makes it difficult for you to work those things out.
Yeah, and it can make it difficult for you to remember as well, and they don't necessarily take that into account when giving you a fine.
The ticket inspectors won't take that into account, I can tell you now. But
even if you tell them, they're like, oh, still not our responsibility.
Not our job.
And it's like, well, it should be.
It's important for the listeners to know that if you think your disability is making it hard for you to use the tickets, you can apply for an access travel pass.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that you can get one for is if you have difficulties remembering to top up or to touch on or touch off, which are all things that, really are extra. Used to, once upon a time, just be able to buy a ticket and that was it. Now there's all these extra things you have to be able to do just to travel on the train.
And it's supposed to make it easier, but it doesn't. Makes it more difficult, doesn't it?
It does. It makes it much more complex.
And also it's about knowing what you're entitled to as a person with a disability. Like they say that access travel passes are for people with, mobility aids and stuff when using the community. That's all they say about it. They don't say, but you can also get it if you have this type of disability, or you can get it if you have an intellectual disability. They don't mention that. They only mention physical disabilities. So it's about knowing what you're entitled to. And that's what Raising Our Voices is here to do, let our listeners know what they're entitled to and what they can get.
Yeah, I agree.
So you can get the forms to fill in.
Yep.
I think that Southern Cross Station has them.
Yeah, you can get them at Southern Cross Stations. You can get them at Flinders Street as well, I think. And
North Melbourne would have
major
stations.
And I think you can even download them.
Yeah, you can download them.
If you've got internet and you can print out.
Yeah.
There's a link on the public transport Victoria website. Also.
I think.
And there's also one you can get if you're a wheelchair user as well, isn't there?
And if you think you've been unfairly fined, you can put in a complaint to Metro Trains and they'll look into it.
Yeah.
Also, me and my sister were spoken very rudely to by, we were getting on a train the other day, and what my sister does is she goes up, because some of the doors to see into the driver's area, they're actually blacked out on the side, so you can't see whether the driver's gotten up and seen you. So my sister will just go and knock on the door, because I've been left before, right? To let them know, by the way, there's someone out here. And the guy goes, oh, that's very rude. And she goes, no, it's just me letting you know that she's here, because it's been, she's been left before. And the guy proceeded to have an argument with my sister about how rude this was. So then we put a complaint into
Metro
and PTV, and it was sorted out. But people need to know that if you have problems with fines or problems with customer service, you do have a right to complain. There is a complaints process.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you have trouble putting in a complaint yourself, like you might have trouble with wording or you might not know how to do it, just ask someone and they'll be happy to help you.
Of course.
Yeah.
You're listening to 3CR on 855 on your AM dial. I'm your host, James. In the studio today, we have Pauline.
Hello.
Ariane and...
Hi again.
Lachlan.
Yep.
Welcome, everyone.
Thanks for
back.
welcoming us back. So we were talking transport, yeah?
Yes, we were.
What about trains? We haven't talked much about trains.
Yeah, and I worked for the Big Issue briefly. I work in the suburbs, and I have been for some time towed about 3 trailers. I've got a little plastic one which I haven't got with me at this point in time, but I've had problems with cyclists on carriage 1. It's been an ongoing battle where I've been on the phone to Metro trains every 5 minutes. Every time I see a bike, I jump on the phone straight away, and then I report it, and then not even a week or 2 later, same thing again. Another bike pops up like a weed. So, and then it's gotten to a stage now where they've put on the edge of the platform where the white bit is. They've put a cycle and picture of a bike with a red cross. No bikes on carriage 1 allowed in the first door, and still
They put the bikes on carriage 1.
pretty much.
I have this problem all the time.
Pretty much.
I can tell you, and people walk directly over the sign. I was talking to a guy who had multiple sclerosis or MS, and he was saying that his pet hate that so many people get on the train and use the first carriage for their bikes, even though it says no bikes on the first carriage. And he actually brings it up with people. And one time I was on with him and he brought it up with this chick, and she moved carriages. But then the next time, the woman was like, "Oh, I don't want to miss my train." And he's like, "It takes you 5 seconds to shift carriages at the next stop, like, totally just do it." And she didn't even pay attention to what he was saying.
Same here.
Like, what?
Same here with the I was on my way home from the city, and I just really got pissed off. Driver didn't get onto the control room and did nothing. They don't do anything these days, and then got this 2 elderly couple, and they said they didn't want to move, and Metro said, "Well, we can't do anything because there's no enforcement officers. They're only doing so many. They can only be across so many services in a given time."
But I suppose that's when it becomes confusing about those seats, because those seats are meant to be for elderly people as well.
Mm.
But
No, but these elderly people were riding bikes.
Okay.
Mm.
But they'd put the bikes in the disabled spot.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it just really annoys me how, and then I told Metro this time and time again, and they say, "Oh no, the government don't give us enough funds," and
How many funds do you need? Like,
I don't know. I don't
still
know.
be getting heaps of money. Like,
And then And then they try and divert the issue by saying, well, they handball it back to the government, and I'm so close to going to the Equal Opportunity Commission, it's not funny. I've been to the public transport ombudsman.
Well, if you think the Equal Opportunity is the best option, then you go to the Equal Opportunity Commission. That's what they're there for. And you know what I believe? On the topic of public transport, there are only 2 travellers' aids in the whole of Melbourne. So many people, not even people with disabilities, rely on travellers' aid to be able to get around and to be able to... People rely on it for extra care when they don't have carers or whatever, and there's only 2 in the whole of Melbourne. I want to, in my capacity as a advocate for people with disabilities, advocate for the government to give travellers aid more money so they can put one in at Melbourne Central, because if you're busing and then you have to walk 20 minutes to get to the nearest toilet.
Motor 20 minutes, don't you mean? Like
motor along, yeah.
Yeah, like drive.
Sorry about the correction there.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue. Well, we've covered lots today, though. Unfortunately, like always, we run out of time. There's so much more that needs to improve. I mean, have we got time just for one wish? Right, each of you, what would be your wish?
My wish
for public transport
would be that Metro should listen to people, listen to people, and put more inspectors, advocate harder to the government, because we're advocating. We've got advocates as well. They're a private operator, like they shouldn't put money before people with disabilities.
Good call. All right. What about you, James? If you had one thing you'd like to see change, what would your wish be for public transport?
To have more low step trams.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we wouldn't have had to wait for 20 minutes and the disasters we had today.
Yeah.
Ariane?
And they kind of already do this with PSOs, but they need to have more, make it safer to travel at night, because I myself don't travel over a certain time by myself, because one time we had all these racists on the train, and it took them like half the train trip to kick them off because they didn't have
enough people.
PSOs can't actually arrest people, so we had to actually wait till we got to Flinders Street, and there was actual officers there. Of like Metro officers that can make an arrest under those circumstances.
That's another whole show, I reckon, there.
So I believe that people should tune in next month for our Part 2 episode on public transport. You've been listening to Raising Our Voices on 3CR 855 AM Community Radio.
Yes, and
we'll
you can
see you next
like
time.
our Facebook page, Raising Our Voices.
Like our Facebook page.
Yes, and
it's new.
You can
Been
see
up
some
for the last
footage
couple of weeks.
from today up there. As soon as we get back to the office, we might be doing that. But yeah, don't forget the second Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock.
And we'll also be updating you via the Facebook about your rights and responsibilities while travelling on public transport.
Up next, Amber Voices.
Bye.
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 You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.